How do you separate with respect and dignity? Can you really get divorced without hating each other? Divorce doesn't have to be ugly, but what's something you can do to make it less damaging? Welcome to Session and Secrets.
They need to hire an attorney to mediate, but you don't.
And what are the biggest misconceptions people have about mediation?
They've spent their lives together and they just know that they reached a point where now they want to have individual separate lives, not together.
It's the beginning of the end.
They're not they're not good candidates for mediation, which is fine. It's not for everybody.
My guest today is Renee Chafar. Welcome, Renee.
Thank you, Louisa. It's nice to be here.
And tell me a little bit about yourself, Renee.
I'm a legal professional. I have an executive juris doctorate as well as a bachelor's degree in business management, and I own and operate a mediation firm in Long Beach, California.
And what inspired you to become a divorce mediator?
Two things. I always wanted to go to law school, and then I was going through a divorce the same time that I started law school. So as I was getting a divorce, the mediator that was handling my divorce knew I was going to law school and asked me to come work for her after I graduated, and I did.
Wow, so you have the experience as a client and
yes, and mediation firsthand. I went through mediation with my own divorce, so I have personal experience. I wanted to go to law school, so it was a good fit. As soon as I graduated, I started the mediation practice, and I've been doing it for 10 and a half years now.
And what is divorce mediation?
So divorce mediation is a way to dissolve a marriage or even a legal separation, but without going to court. So there's no court time. You don't have to take time off work to go down to the courthouse. You don't even have to prepare your paperwork or file it. I do that for you. I prepare all your paperwork. You proofread it first. I file it for you. The only thing you have to do as a client would be your declarations of disclosure and your financial disclosure and come to mediation. And you don't really have to do too much. My whole practice will the process flows very well, so that it takes the pressure off the clients. They don't really have to do anything. It allows them and gives them time to process the change rather than having to be dealing with the paperwork.
What is a personal declaration?
A financial declaration, a financial declaration is called income and expense. How much money do you make? What are your expenses? And then there's another form called assets and debts. So you have to list all of your assets and list all of your debts, both parties.
Oh, okay. And what are the biggest misconceptions people have about mediation?
Misconceptions, I think people believe that they need to hire an attorney to mediate, but you don't. You only need to hire an attorney if you have questions about your individual legal rights that a neutral mediator cannot define to you.
Yes. And divorce can be like an emotional storm, right?
Yes, very. It's very sometimes sad and emotional.
Yeah. And in your experience, what are the most common reasons of why people divorce?
Most of the time it's because people grow apart and they don't grow together. So that happens. Sometimes it's about the finances. There's always the spender and then there's the saver. And you have to find a nice harmony between those two.
Okay. And so you were, before the recording the episode, you were talking about sometimes, couples marry really young and they're...
Yeah. And they don't grow together. You imagine just if one person's life evolves so many times. You graduate from college, you're young. Then you get married, you're still young. Then you hit your 30s and then pressure starts hitting you like, are you going to have kids? And then you have kids and then there's more pressure and you've got your attention drawn to the children and your marriage. It gets complicated. People's jobs start traveling a lot. Your husband's not around when you're working or vice versa. Wife works too much and husband's at home taking care of the kids, feeling neglected. Then the money can also be an issue. Like I said, there's the spender and the saver. That's always a big issue. Those things. And sometimes people just are really nice and come together and say, you know what, we had a good run and now we just want to go our separate lives. And those are the really fun ones because they've spent their lives together and they just know that they reached a point where now they want to have individual separate lives, not together, and they're okay with it.
Right. Like they're sort of like, and like in good terms, right? Accepting
Yes.
that it's
Yeah.
no longer.
Yeah, they just accept the fact that they're ready to move on and go separate ways, and those are the really fun ones.
Okay. What interesting stories have you heard?
Interesting stories. Gosh, I don't know. They're all interesting, Yeah, in their own way. I think the most interesting thing that I can, after 10 and a half years, was the division of an asset of a tree. The clients had gone somewhere, I don't know where it was, overseas, and bought some trees for their yard. And then and they were very expensive, exclusive.
Like exotic
trees, that's right. And they brought them back. And I will tell you, they split those trees. There were like 10, and one person took 5 and the other person took 5. It was quite an interesting division. And then there was another division where one person had purchased. These are the things that stand out to me. Everything else is just everything's so unique every time. It's all new. It's always new. But the things that stood out to me the most was the 2 IKEA coffee grinders, and one party would not part with both of them. Like that one person wouldn't give the other person one coffee grinder so that they would each have 2. They wanted to keep both of them. So that was.
Do you know what it meant to them? I wonder what it meant to them.
I don't know, but an IKEA coffee grinder, come on, it's like $45. Like, get a new one. Go get one. Like, don't argue.
Mm-hmm. What about, how do you manage that when in the back of your mind you're like, it's only $45?
I know, you really have to. So the first thing we do is we divide everything 50-50. But if it turns out that one person wants something and it's not 50-50, then we have to compensate the other person for that lack of not having that. So in this example, if one of the spouses wanted to keep both of the coffee grinders, then we would give the other spouse something else that she wanted.
Okay, so like
it's called an
quid pro quo.
Yeah, it's called an offset. So you trade. It's like, you trade pieces.
Okay, that's interesting. What are the most common emotional challenges you see?
Emotional challenges. Well, sometimes you just got to bring a box of Kleenex in the room. I mean, that's the hard part. When someone starts crying right away, that's the hardest part. So I always have Kleenex in the room close by in case somebody's going to cry. We always have refreshments for them, water, tea, coffee to try to cheer them up. We'll ask them if they want to take a break. We'll offer them a restroom break, maybe just walk around for 5 minutes, reconvene, and come back. But the process is really streamlined. So we try to keep the emotion out of it and focus on the facts. A general fact would be, when were you married? What's your date of separation? How many kids do you have? How many cars do you have? So those are the facts. So if we can pull the attention away from the emotional part and stick to the facts, then it's not quite, that's how we drum down the emotion in the room.
To just keep going along with the process?
Yes.
What question do you think triggers that emotion?
It's not me, it's them. So they come in with their own emotions into the session. And sometimes they just sit down and they just start crying before we start doing anything. Sometimes it's just an emotional release, because the anxiety of, what's going to happen? I mean, there's a lot of different emotions that happen. There's fear of the unknown. And then there's also sometimes people feel like they want everything. Some people come in and say, I want the house and the car and everything, but you can't have the house and the car and everything. This is California. California is a community property state. It goes 50-50. So you don't get everything, and so sometimes that's hard for people to understand as well.
And I can imagine maybe coming into the room, like you were saying, it's just that it's the beginning of the end, right? Or the relief too, like you were saying.
The change. So yes. So the fact that people are going to change is a very scary thing. The unknown, the fear of the unknown. You don't know what it's going to be like getting spousal support and child support if you've never worked outside of being married. In the old days, people used to just go straight from their parents' house to getting married, and they don't really have a career. And then they get a divorce, and then it's really scary to know what you're going to do next.
Yes. You're starting a new life, right?
Yeah. And even if you both do have careers and you've been married, both of you are starting a new life, and that can be scary.
Yes, definitely. What is one thing that makes divorce less damaging?
So mediation makes divorce less damaging because it's handled out of court. So mediation was basically designed to shorten the time that it takes to do a litigated divorce, where you have to get on the court docket, hire your attorneys. You got judges' schedules, attorney schedules, your schedules, court dates, court availability. That alone could push a divorce out to 2 years. In mediation, we can get it done in 6 months, and that goes fairly quick. So we're out of court. We're a fraction of the cost. The paperwork goes a lot quicker, and everything is conducted in the privacy of an office. So that you don't feel intimidated by having to go to court. You don't have to take time off work, drive and look for parking, go to the courtroom, be there at specific times. So
yes, so you can choose to a process that is going to last 6 months, or a process that could potentially
2 to
last
5
over
years.
exactly.
Yeah, minimum 2 on a quick divorce litigated 2 years. That's how long it takes, because you got your initial. Then you come back, and if there's problems, then you separate and you negotiate, and then you come back.
Yeah. Yes. I've heard from clients. I hear lots of stories too from clients how like that becomes draining, and then by the end, everybody's exhausted and minus thousands of dollars.
Oh, yeah, I know, it's horrible.
Are there early signs that you identify and you see that couples might be heading towards like a high conflict
Louisa?
Divorce?
Oh, yeah, I sure do. And that's why I have a free consultation. So I always have a free consultation with my clients before they retain me. And the reason why I do that is because I want to meet them and find out what their needs are, find out if they have children, because couples with children, their mediation takes longer because we have to do parenting plans. Find out what their intentions are for spousal support, for a retirement accounts, for cars. Is it going to be complicated? Are they in agreement in the consultation? So when I talk to them in the free consultation, I ask them these questions about how many cars do you have? How many accounts do you have? Do you have children? And then you can tell right away from just those easy questions whether or not they're going to agree. Because sometimes one person will answer, and if the other person doesn't say anything, then they're in agreement. But if the other person says, no, I want this other thing, then right away they're already not in agreement. And then, so I have a number of questions that I go through at the consultation. And if every time they're not agreeing on those questions, then they're not good candidates for mediation, which is fine. It's not for everybody. It's not meant to be for everybody. There are some people who do need to have very complicated issues where they do need to litigate, and they do need to have an attorney represent them, especially if one side is domineering and the other person is not. Then you definitely need somebody to basically stand up for you in court.
So how do you just tell them, refer them that?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah. I have attorney referrals. I just say, you probably need to litigate. And why don't you talk to an attorney first and just let them know that you're considering mediation, but you'd like to talk to an attorney first just to find out what your legal interests and rights are, and then if they send you back to me, okay, well then maybe you are a good candidate for mediation, but I can usually tell in the consultation if mediation is going to be a good fit.
By the answers and the attitudes that
Yes.
they're showing?
Yes.
Okay. And so sometimes they can start amicable, right? Like they can start like in good terms, but then maybe things change in the process.
Sometimes things do go sideways. And what we do then is we stop and we hold their file and we send them to attorneys for information. We send them to speak with an attorney on an hourly basis, and so that they can find out what their legal interests and rights are on this particular issue. And then they come back together. We come back to mediation after they've had some counsel.
What do you think helps couples set boundaries that are respectful?
I don't understand the question.
Like when they're going through this painful process, how can they keep, the respect?
That is so tough. Some people are better than others. Everybody's different. There are some really nice people who are going through a divorce and live together in the same house. And then there are some people who are going through a divorce who don't even want to look at the other person. So each case is different. But if that's the case, if you can't be around the other person, then maybe the people should live in separate houses. For safety reasons. If there's conflict, high conflict, and a lot of tension, it could be dangerous. So it's better to be safe. Stay at your parents' house, stay with a friend, just for your own safety if you feel that the tension is too high.
Yeah. Do you tell them that?
No, they usually ask me. Yes. They'll ask me, and I can't advise anybody on what to do.
Right.
But there are clear signs. Sometimes if you just say back what they said, then it kind of answers their question for them.
Yes, or even just people saying it out loud and then hearing themselves.
Yeah, they know how they feel inside, but. Yeah. Sometimes if you just say back what they just said, that answers their question. It answers their own question. They answer their own question.
Have you seen couples go through that and still be able to go through mediation?
Yeah, we've had couples. It looks like they can't decide on something, and then I find that time will bring things together in the long run. And some people, I've had a couple of cases where they actually did decide to litigate because they couldn't come to a decision and they wanted somebody to make a decision for them. So a judge will make a decision for you if they can't come to an agreement.
Yeah, it's like mediation is a decision. You can make a decision for yourself or let someone else, right? Which would be the judge.
Arbitrators or judges make decisions, and mediators bring you together with information to help you come to an agreement. But if you can't come to an agreement, then they have to go to an arbitrator or a judge.
Yes. And what can people do to prepare, if they're thinking about this process, what can they do to prepare mentally or logistically?
Yeah. Okay. So that's a really good question, because a lot of people, and again, like the first question, what's a common misconception? Believe it or not, people don't really need to do anything. They just need to call me and talk to me. If they call me and talk to me, I can help them. So what I mean by that is that sometimes people over-prepare when they call me. They think that more knowledge is good. It's not. Sometimes I talk to my mom, I talk to my sister, my girlfriend says this, my attorney says this, somebody else's attorney said this, my uncle who's in wills and trust says I need to do this. That's too much information, and it's not the right information, because your girlfriend, her situation was different than your situation. Everybody's situation is different. So the first thing to do is to not talk you have to talk to somebody, but talk to a psychologist about your feelings and your emotions to help you stay strong and on track. But don't get legal advice from the guy at Starbucks because he got a divorce. You want to talk to a legal professional. And I say, you got me, you got your mediator. I'm going to help you get a divorce. Going to get this process done for you, prepare the paperwork, file it for you, do all the logistics that you need to do. But if you need advice, legal advice on what your legal interests and rights are, speak to an attorney first on an hourly basis, and then come back to mediation. And then you're prepared to have that discussion with your other person. And I'm fine with both spouses going to speak to an attorney first. I think it's great. Then when they come together, they understand what they're entitled to. So does that answer your question?
Yes,
Okay.
yes.
Okay.
And speak to an attorney that
A family law attorney. Don't speak to your uncle who's in wills and trusts, tax law, something like that. No, you have to speak to a family law attorney. That's the key. Mm-hmm.
Yes, and how do you help people like split assets without splitting family?
You know what? They pretty much, when they come to mediation, they kind of already know. So, and if they don't know, it's okay. You don't have to know. You don't have to come with, a binder or anything. I've got a spreadsheet that I go down through with them, and all they need to do is know that California is a community property state, which means everything should be divided evenly. So if they don't know anything, when they come to mediation, they're going to know somebody's going to get half. They're both going to get half. Everything can be divided half, 50-50. But if they decide to trade something in mediation, they can do that too. One person can keep all of the checking and one person can keep all of the savings as long as they're equal in value.
Okay. That's good to know, to have an idea that it's going to be 50-50.
Yeah, that's the baseline.
Yeah. And how do you think a less damaging divorce helps helps even people heal and move on with their lives?
Absolutely. Yeah, that's a really good question. So here's the thing. Time is everything. So the faster you get your divorce done or your legal separation, even if it's a legal separation, the sooner you can move past it. The sooner you can start with a schedule, especially when you have children. It's wonderful to have a parenting plan. You can post the calendar on the refrigerator so the kids know what day they're going to be with dad and what day they're going to be with mom. The holidays, so they know. The division, the assets and debts are divided. So now you don't have to worry about splitting money. You know your money and you know the other person has their money, and you don't have to worry about if you go buy something on your credit card, nobody's going to say, oh, you made this big purchase. Now you are ready to move forward with your life and you don't have to blend with anybody. So the faster you get the divorce, the faster you can move on and start figuring out your new life.
Yeah, it's like a closure, right? It's a symbol of closure.
Yes. It's a stage. Sometimes some people like to use that reference about the chapter in a book. It's, that chapter, you close that chapter and then you go on to the next chapter.
It's like a period. Now you can move
on. Put a period in it.
Yes. And what do you include in that, the child plan, the parenting plan?
So we do a breakdown of the regular schedule, so weekdays, and then we do a breakdown of the holiday schedule. So we go through all the holidays.
Okay. Do you go call it the whole calendar?
Every single? Yes, every single holiday.
And if someone listening is, thinking about this process, what would be your suggestion to them?
I would say call and get a free consultation and find out if mediation is good for you. It's a very, I used to call it a very classy way to get a divorce because it's done in the privacy of an office. Nobody's going to come down to your house or your work and serve you. I serve you personally. You come into the office or I serve you by mail. Everything's done via email. So there's no, if you want, we don't email your work. We just send it to your home. So nobody knows. It's very private. It's very personal and personable. So meaning you're dealing with a person that you can sit in a room with who's going to listen to your particular issues rather than being number 6, 7, 8 on the docket, and you get like 2 minutes and you're under pressure and you're dealing with people surrounded by people who you don't really know and don't really know your case.
Do couples need to have a conversation before calling you?
They don't. They don't. No. But ultimately, in order to mediate, both parties have to agree to mediate. So eventually, both parties will know.
Do you suggest that they talk to each other, or do you suggest that you take you, meaning the mediator?
Yes. So in order to have a consultation, both parties need to participate in the consultation. So they have to talk about coming to the free consultation before they meet with me. So they will have to have a discussion.
Okay. Well, thank you for all this wonderful information.
Louisa, thank you so much. It's such a pleasure to meet you. You're such a wonderful person. There's so many great things about you. I'm just honored that you asked me to speak with you today. I really appreciate you.
And likewise.
Thank you.
And where can people find you?
On the internet. You can find me on Google. Just type Shaffar Divorce Mediation or Mediation on Long Beach, and I should come up. I have a website, phone numbers. You can fill in a information form on the internet, and it'll come straight to the email box, and we'll get back to you right away.
Divorce will always be a challenge, but with the right guidance, it doesn't have to destroy lives. Thank you for joining us on Session and Secrets. Check out our posts and make sure to like, subscribe, or leave a comment down below.